Hello and welcome. My name is Lisa. I'm going to be your host for this session of wellness that we have been doing these sessions together. And it's a series. And today we're going to be talking about mental health. And just in case you're brand new to calls like this, I just always like to go over just a couple things before we get started. I'm going to be interviewing Rebecca today, and it's going to be awesome. So first of all, I just wanted you to know I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical person. I don't diagnose or anything. Neither does Rebecca, the person that I'm interviewing today. So we don't cure diseases, anything like that. What we do is we make suggestions on how to balance the body via plant-dense nutrition. This is called the holistic method. What we do, we use herbal solutions that are based in research and also lots of personal testimony. As we work through these series, you'll hear all kinds of different subjects we're going to be talking about. So we just share real life stories. These are people that we know and come along to be interviewed in these series. And the intent is to offer you hope, to offer your loved ones hope. That is our desire. At the end of this call, we will have a question and answer time. So if we're talking about a subject and you don't want to forget, go ahead and chat in the question in the moment that we're talking about it so you don't forget, or write it on a piece of paper if you don't have the chat available to you. Then at the end, when we get finished with the interview, we'll go back through the questions and make sure that you get everything answered for you. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Rebecca on here as well. Can you guys all see both of us side by side? Yep, we got a thumbs up. So this is Rebecca Norman that I have the privilege of interviewing today. I'm super excited about it. We met about 6 years ago, and we really became friends on a Costa Rica trip, a company trip that we took together. That was such a blast. And so that's where we really started to get to know each other. And some things that I know about Rebecca is she's fun and energetic and loving and kind. She really, truly cares about other people. So that's why it's going to be so great to hear from her today. And her story has already helped so many people. So that's why I'm excited to have her and have you hear it if you haven't heard it before, that it might help you or someone you know. So before you get into your story though, Rebecca, I think it's always good to kind of set it a little bit of an expectation of what you would like people to hear today. So as you think about your story, what kind of takeaways would you like the people on the call to hear today?
Well, I really just want people to walk away with hope, but an idea of what specifically they can do to impact either themselves or their children or somebody that they love or their community. So I really, when it comes to anxiety and depression and things like that, a lot of times people can sink easily into this hole of hopelessness. And so with this, my hope is that I can bestow that hope onto others so that you can see that there are options, there's something tangible you can do, and hopefully you'll have a clear picture of what that looks like.
Yes, that's awesome. That is my hope and intention as well today. So why don't you go ahead and share? I know you have a very powerful story about mental health that is very near and dear to you. So I'm sure everybody on the call would love to hear what that story is.
Okay. Well, where to begin? So what got me personally initially started using the products was our son. I saw my sister's success, so it gave me the belief to at least try it and open my mind to helping our son. So I'll give you a little background on him. His whole life, he has had severe anxiety and depression. He would cry as a little boy, like little, before school, before preschool, because he couldn't turn his brain off. He had night terrors. He was self-destructive. it was scary. And I grew up around natural health. And so I wanted so desperately to find something natural to give him that would help quiet his mind, help him with his reactions, help him socially, and all these different things. But that was a challenge because, as you know, with natural health, there's so many options, there's so many companies, there's so many formulas. You know, ashwagandha, for instance, you'll hear this all the time. Oh, I've tried that, it doesn't work. Well, as we know, there's tons of different formulas, different qualities, and all of that. So through the years, it was a lot of trial and error with him. By the time he was in preschool, he was on over 10 different products, capsules, mind you. So I had to get him to swallow these. The hardest part was that first time. Once he knew he could do it, then it was no problem. But a 4-year-old on tons of products was quite a challenge initially. So we had him on products for his blood sugar and emotional well-being. He was on B complexes and B6 and GABA and spirulina, and I mean, just so many, lithium, omegas, DHA. I mean, I could go on, chromium. There was so much that this child was on, and it did help somewhat. The night terrors went away, but also in this time, he ended up going through some trauma that was severe emotional trauma that he had when he was about 6 years old. And so we had not only somebody that had chemical imbalances, but also had life kind of kick him in the face. So you can imagine how scary that was, especially with a child that tended to self-harm. And when he was in preschool, the reason I got him started on so many different things was his teacher came to me and said he needs to be on medication. He cannot focus. He's having issues with other kids. He can't seem to click with people. Everything, stresses him out. He's overwhelmed. His art would be just scribbles because he was so anxious and stressed out. And so I knew that we had to do something. But around that time, when he started to self-harm, I walked in his room and he was trying to scratch the skin off of his arms. So we had to do something now. So when we started him on the herbs, it did help. He wasn't as extreme in his reactions. Like I said, his sleeping got a little bit better. He was managing a little bit better in school. He was still struggling. He still was having a hard time socially with kids, but I felt like we had kind of gotten it under control enough to where he could function. But mind you, in this time frame, it's terrifying. You don't know what their future looks like. You don't, you look at teenagers now and they're all self-medicating. It's either alcohol or smoking weed or opiates or any number of things. They're using sex to medicate themselves, to calm their brain, pornography. There's so many things that are harmful that kids are turning to that have such a lasting impact in their life. My fear, even when he was that little, was that. And that turns into people incarcerated because they were willing to do, horrible things to get the drugs that they couldn't afford anymore. I mean, it's just like it's a whole domino effect with our youth and on into adulthood. So my fear when he was 4 was all of that. And I'm sure other moms can relate because, you want everything for your kids and you want them to be happy and well-adjusted and productive and a good member of society and all of those wonderful things. And so when they're little and they're struggling so much, sometimes the worst case scenarios go through your mind. So, there were times where I felt like a complete failure. There were times where I felt like I was in way over my head. We did go to the doctor to look into medications because I didn't want to leave anything on the table. I mean, when you have a little life that you're in charge of, you need to look at every angle and be consistent and persistent in searching. So I still did not feel good about the meds for him. And I understand people have so many different views on this. And I love all of the parents for what they try to do for the best of their children. So I would never judge, period. I know we're all struggling to find the right solutions. But for me, we weren't ready yet. Well, around the time my sister started on Soul and I saw her transform on these products, I finally had the guts to try Soul. And at the time, you know, he didn't do well in team activities. He was really struggling with his grades. You know, he still would get really down on himself and really in pretty deep depression at times. It would just come and hit in waves. So I kept our whole arsenal, and we started on Soul Vital, Cinemate, and Adaptable, and that was it. Which was refreshing because he was so used to taking so many pills. So to go from what he was taking to those 3 things was scary, but awesome at the same time. And of course, with kids, you have to do whatever you have to do to get them to take it. It's like, if your kid's going to run out and get hit by a car, you're going to grab them. You're not going to say, oh, well, they don't want me to grab their arm. I better just let them go get hit by the car. You're going to do whatever you got to do to make your kid do it. So for us, the first time I got him to take pills, it was bribery. I told him I'd give him $1 at 4 years old. $1 is awesome. And once he knew he could do it, he was a champ, and he swallowed pills, and that was it. Now, once we switched to Soul Vital, Cinemate, and Adaptable, he didn't want to drink something. He wanted to just take pills. So I said, hey, you don't have to drink it, but you're not going to have any TV, phone, electronics, video games until this is in your belly. So you can wait, but that's how it's going to be. Well, it went down the hatch so fast. He was over that real quick. So you got to find what motivates him. I didn't get into like a whole yelling match war with him, but it was just kind of matter of fact, like, hey, okay, don't do it. But this is what's going to happen. You know, you're not going to have this until it's done. So that was the end of that war. So we really didn't have any huge battles over it, because we just kind of squashed it that way. But every kid's so different, and you know, we all know our kids and what's going to make them tick. So we started him on this, and within 3 days, this boy had a light in his eyes. He was lighter. He was sillier. He was cracking jokes and able to just kind of go with the flow more. And the entire household could see him start to come alive. It was like, who is this kid? And I knew that he had this in him, but so many people around us had no idea who he was. You know, like now people look at him and they would never imagine that he was so depressed and upset. But at the time, people just thought that that's who he was. Like he was just a grumpy, stressed out, overwhelmed, agitated, high maintenance kid. And I knew that this little sunshine was in there. It just couldn't seem to come out. So little by little, over time, that started to really come out more and more. And eventually his grades went up. He started developing friendships. He was able to set goals and stay focused on them. He played baseball, basketball, football, and did wonderful, dealt with very challenging people in school and on teams, and dealt with it with grace and learned real skills. And now to look at him, he's 18 now. This was back when he was 9 years old that we started him on the products. To have a tool through his teen years that has been so effective has been a game changer. Because now that he's had these years under his belt of something that has helped him, when he has a bad day at work, he ended up being able to graduate early. He finished some college while he was in high school. So he's totally reaching the goals that he's set for his life. He's setting himself up to do some volunteer work that is really close to his heart. He's in building maintenance so that he can cultivate the skills that he needs for that. So, I mean, there's so many things that are happening for him. And now he knows if he's having a particularly bad day or he didn't get good rest or whatever, he knows, come home and I'll see him. He'll grab a Cinemate and a Vital and take some more Adaptable, or he'll take some Vertizymes. So now he has healthy tools that are enabling him to be him. And that person that he was, you only see little glimpses here and there of that issue, but he knows what to do when that pops up. And that is the most empowering thing I've seen for that boy, is to have the right tools to where he can get his head right, to be able to do the things that help him to be happy, whether that's prayer, work, school, whatever, the things that make him happy, he can do it now.
That was so awesome. And if you're new to the call, I know that Rebecca a few times has referred to something called Soul Naturals. Those are the herbs that I was talking about, the plant-dense nutrition in the beginning. It's a holistic method. It's a program that she was able to help her son with. But I wanted to just go back through your story a little bit because there's just so many amazing nuggets within that story. And just it really, I think any mom or dad on the call that has a child that struggles with that can relate to feeling terrified and inadequate. And I know I hear in your questioning the what if they get into drugs, and we know all those things, our self-medication, our kids are getting into wrong friendships because they want to be where they belong, and a lot of times those are the really accepted areas for them to go to. So I'm so thankful that at such an early age you were proactive in that and got involved. And it's kind of funny to me because anybody that has journeyed through using holistic methods, all different kinds of herbs for long periods of time, has like the closet of herbs that they have tried. And you listed off a list of a bunch of things that you tried, and they were helping a little bit, but I love that what you have him on now has really made so many changes for him. I did have a mom question for you because I get this a lot with my clients. They don't feel like their kids can swallow pills at early age or any capsules or anything, or they're afraid they won't like the taste of anything. Can you give some encouragement? I know what you said that you did, with giving him some money and things like that, but what would you say to other moms that are really struggling with the thought of, he's too little, he can't take these things?
Well, don't underestimate them. Now they're going to believe that they can't because it's weird. They are not used to swallowing pills, but if they can swallow food, they can swallow pills. But it is a mental thing. It is absolutely a mental thing. If our body will respond to those thoughts, our throat will tighten up and we won't be able to get it down. And so when he was trying, I also did coach him through it. Now, a 4-year-old, your coaching is going to sound different than a 13-year-old. But for Zach, it was like, okay, Zach, you can open your throat, open as you swallow. And it was like, it just went down. So they have to think that way. And I know it sounds silly, but to really put that verbiage out there to open your throat, make sure it's wide open, and it will go right down. Their body will respond and it will happen. So trying to be relaxed yourself and coaching them through it and giving them that visual and that verbiage in their mind helps tremendously. And then with the Vital and Mate, when I first started him on it, I made the Soul Vital ice cold, and I did this in a mate as this fun drink, and I put half and half in it, and it was his special little drink that he felt all loved. Now he just wants to get it over with and just take his stuff and go to work. And so he mixes it all together, chugs it. It doesn't even bother him anymore. I have a way more sensitive palate than him. But however you can get it down, the better. We found with the capsules, it was easier for us to just get him to swallow them because having stuff that was gross was much harder to deal with a little one. But everyone's got to deal. There's so many tips and tricks with all of the people on here that have worked. People add stuff to applesauce or yogurt, or they put it in a smoothie, or there's so many different approaches that people use. But for us, we just took the pills, drank the drink, and that was the end of it. And you can even, if they don't like the taste, it's okay, hurry and chug it. You can make it you can acknowledge the fact that they might not like something and be like, okay, let's get it over with as fast as you can, see how fast you can drink it. If you can make it a game when they're little, that helps a lot. Oh yeah. And then Denise is saying, you can put stuff in the belly button with the AC cream. There's so many awesome tips and tricks. So if you're looking for other ways, I'm sure you'll get a ton of suggestions on here, but we just kept the capsules for us.
I love that. I love that you are persistent and consistent. Those are two huge words. I think a lot of times as moms, we want them to be happy and love us and all things and eat, buy them the sugary things and do all the things instead of making, and like you had mentioned, if they were going to get run over by a car or something like that, of course you grab them. If they were on cancer treatment or something, of course you would make sure they're getting the things. But somehow it comes with things that are more natural and herbal. We don't value or see the good in them. Would you say that he noticed a difference within himself when he was little and getting older, or was it more you got a difference in him?
When he was really little, he didn't notice as much. I mean, if I would ask him, how are you doing with your sleep? He'd be like, oh, I'm good. Like, he wasn't as reflective at 4, 5, 6 years old. But by the time we started on Soul, I want to say he was about 9 years old it's got to be about 9 years old when he started. By then he was able to reflect a little bit more, but I'd still have to kind of ask him. But now through the years, we've had so many ups and downs, of kind of tweaking things. And, I would set out his herbs, but then he wouldn't take them. And then he'd come home from school and you could totally see it instantly. Like, hey, did you take your herbs today? And so now he knows, like he will not miss them. We went through a period in the last few years where he felt weird because he needs these so bad. He's like, why do I need this? Like, what is wrong with me that I can't function without these? And I'm like, honey, most people don't realize that they need this stuff. You at least have the insight to look at yourself and go, hey, I do so much better with these formulas. We all need certain things to survive. We need food, we need water, we need certain nutrients, but some people need a little bit more help. And most people, everyone I know has benefited from these. So our whole family uses Soul. And so that does help a little bit, but I lost the question. I got on a rant.
No, you answered it. It was
okay, good.
it was just mainly about starting out with swallowing the things. And there was some great comments on there, like Denise, like you mentioned, had said, putting it on the belly button, it actually absorbs them into there for little tiny babies. I think the thing that is so cool about this particular company is the type of herbs they use. They're called adaptogens. And what is so unique about them is they're safe for all ages. I hear that all the time. They're like, oh, well, my daughter's just an infant. And I know people that have put things in sippy cups and put it on their belly button and put it in their diaper and things, and all ages, even the elderly benefit. So I love that it's safe. So that's a huge thing that we want to know when we're doing things like that. And even Tatinka said that it took them 4 years of practicing with her older son. So there again, it's that persistence. It's believing that this is best and sticking it out and doing whatever it takes to make it work. I love that. And we'll get to some of the questions in just a minute. I did have a question for you, though. At the beginning of the interview, you mentioned that you want to offer people hope. What does that tangibly look like? Like, when you're talking to other moms that this is going on, or even for adults, what does that day kind of tangibly look like for them? What do they need to do?
Well, you've got to start taking the products. You've got to get on a program. So that's the absolute first step. And then as you're working through your program, you're going to make adjustments. So I know when we first started him, it was like 2 adaptable, a vital, and a mate, so a cinnamate. Over time, we have adjusted that. But you have to start somewhere, because until you get a program and you implement it, you're just wishing for change. But you have to get those tools and start implementing them. And then once you do that, you'll make adjustments. So over the years, with Zach, we started him with the 2 and a packet of each, but then now he takes 4 adaptable every day, every morning, and that's once a day. And then he does one of each of the drink packets. And then he, on his own, added Vertizymes, which I'm a big believer in allowing yourself to kind of instinctually go towards things. So in our house, we have, it's like a drink bar on our counter. I have all of the, I should post a picture of it. I've got all of the, the good vibrations and the infatuate and all of the powders in little glass jars. And then I have all the drinks. And then we have all our pills up in the cupboard. So in our house, you take what you need. And for Zach, he has always been very in tune with what, like what feels good. And so he on his own added Vertizyme. So now he takes 3 Vertizymes in the morning, 4 adaptable, and then he does the drink packets. And that consistently works well for him. And that has worked for years for him. And like I said, if he has a particularly rough day or things are hectic here at the house or something, he'll take some more adaptable and have another Vital Mate mixed together. So, we like to have the flexibility in our house to just dip into whatever you need. But you got to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. You have to be consistent, and work from there. And you can always tweak the program. And then of course you have us. I mean, tap into the people that have come before you, because we want to help you. I mean, when you've been in this situation with your family and you find out another family is going through it, your heart aches. I literally get like a pain in my heart when I hear people going through this. So we want to help you, and you're not alone.
Yes. And I'm not ignoring the questions. I see the questions coming in. We're going to get to them in a minute. So I guess with the tangible plan, what I'm hearing you say is you start with the program, you implement a plan, you have a plan. That's important, right? If we don't, we plan to fail. And then when I was talking to you earlier, I know you said how important it was to connect with other moms and other people that have journeyed. And I love that about this community. We have the opportunity to connect with people. There's even, if you're on Facebook, a group called Little Souls, and it's all about a bunch of mommies in there and what they do with their kids, and the consistency that you were so consistent. So really quick before we get to the questions, what would you say, how do you feel about Zach's future now?
Well, now I know he'll be fine, as long as we can't control everything in the world. Time and unforeseen occurrence befall us all. So things can happen. But as far as his chosen paths and his choices, I am absolutely confident in him. He's already built a pattern of good decision making. He's focused and goal oriented, and has a strong sense of his conscience and what he believes and who he is. And I just am so excited to see what's ahead for him now. I'm not scared anymore.
That's so huge. I mean, what mom wants to have confidence, empowered, that they've helped their children or their loved ones or whoever it is, that you sound empowered and confident, as opposed to in the beginning, feeling inadequate and fearful. And so that's a huge thing for parents and moms. And so I just want to, before we jump to the questions, I just want to thank you so much for your willingness to come on here. I know that's not easy when we have hard things that we have walked through, and it brings a little bit of that pain back every time we're willing to share that. But thank you so much for being willing to share and open and vulnerable. I think a lot of these questions are going to apply to you. So I'm just going to go back here and make sure I'm not missing anything. How do you use the herbs? Oh, I was going to really fast for people that don't know what she's talking about. These little packets, literally they're all sealed. They come like this. This is 1 serving, and you put it in water. That's all you do with these. Either one of them, you put them in water. So her son, Zach, was drinking 2 drinks, and then he was taking, these are capsules, the adaptable that she referred to are capsules. I have like the mega size. And what he started taking later was another capsule. So he was taking a couple different types of capsules and 2 drinks a day. And yeah, our house has the mega size of both of those particular things. They do come in a smaller size. It just saves you money buying them in a larger size. So the belly button, most moms put it in some type of cream. There's the AC cream, which is great, and just open up the capsule, put it in there, and just rub it on their belly, and their body will absorb that. And same with diapers with babies, that a lot of people use the probiotics with the diaper and just sprinkling it right in the diaper, and the body absorbs it. Because our skin, remember, is a filter organ, and it's the largest organ in our body, so it will absorb things. If you give it a carrier, something like coconut oil or the AC cream is great. Okay, so Denise was asking you in particular, how has this program changed over the 9 years since you started with Soul?
Well, Zachary's, we've experimented over that time, because every time there was a new product that came out, I'd always see if maybe that would be the thing. But for Zach, the simple program has been the most powerful. He's done phenomenal with those now 4 things. Sometimes I'll throw ProBio IQ. He does do well on that. I wish he'd take it every day, but he's kind of created a program that it's his favorite, and that's what he sticks with. And being that he's the age he's at, I want him to take ownership of his program. So I try not to micromanage it too much, as long as he's taking his stuff. But he says he feels amazing on what he's doing, so I leave it at that. So it hasn't changed a whole lot, but we have experimented through the years as things have come out. But that it's been pretty consistent, those 3, and then adding in the Vertizymes.
Which sounds really nice, because it sounded like he was on 10 plus other things before. And yeah, so that sounds like a really nice, simple thing to do. Yes. Tamara was sharing that her 3-year-old loves the little green drink packet that I held up there, and started when she was 2. I love stories like that, because it's just so beneficial for our little ones. Because in reality, we all know the plants we eat do not contain the nutrition they once did long ago. And so we're just not getting the nutrition that we need. Wendy asked, why do you say Soul worked well, whereas the other 20 supplements didn't work as well? For those who feel like they've already tried everything but haven't tried Soul yet, what do you see the difference in?
That is a really good question, Wendy. I have to say, when I used to take all of the supplements I took back then, I do think I was more of the medical mindset, where it was like, okay, this is for blood sugar, I'm going to take this. This is for stress, I'm going to take this. I just was more focused on symptoms, I guess. And if somebody told me something helped with ADHD or depression, I'd add it in and see if it would help. And so I got kind of consumed by finding things that, I thought might help, but I was always thinking of more symptom related. Whereas with Soul, it was so holistic. I mean, Soul Vital isn't marketed for anxiety and depression. It's in the balance category. So you're bringing balance to, your blood and your detoxifying organs and your brain, and everything is about finding that homeostasis or the balance in the body. And so I really believe that because Soul is so focused on whole body and mind balancing, and using adaptogens to do that, their formulas just work. And whereas, you can take B6 and your B vitamins and you'll get some benefits for sure. I mean, especially if you're using good quality stuff. And I wasn't using I wasn't using junky supplements. But the way that Soul uses their formulas and the recipes that they use, which we don't know their, exact recipes, it works. It's focused on the whole mind, whole body balancing, and what they use just works. And it's just it's a completely different mindset that they use in this company. It's not the medical mindset. It's a holistic view of healing and bringing balance.
I love, great segue for the next question from Jessica, who said, do you have products or programs for kiddos who are hyper and cannot maintain focus? And I love what you were just sharing, because what is so amazing is we don't ever treat the symptoms. So I know in the medical community, we look at a symptom, say like activity or depression, and there's a medication for that symptom that's going to suppress the body. It's going to suppress that symptom, but it usually comes at a cost. There's usually side effects and things like that that come with medications. We all know that. We see the rattled off list on television when they list a medication. So I love that you just mentioned that you stopped doing that with Zachary. You just said, we don't need to treat the symptom. We're going to give his body this plant-dense nutrition, which is going to balance the body. And when the body's in balance, then those symptoms, the things, the depression, anxiety, hyperactivity, those go away. Like, I love that you said, I know Denise has said several times, the war in her mind turned off. And that's kind of what you were sharing about him too. It wasn't, you weren't necessarily going for those things, but when the body gets what it needs, then it's in balance and those symptoms go away.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So yes, that was a long answer to yes. A program very similar to that would be great for focus.
Yeah. And mind you, Zach, when he was little, he was like all over the place. This kid was like, we went to the hospital because he was so quick. He would shove things up his nose. He would climb everything. This kid was insane. Like, he was just had so much energy and was so all over the place. He could not focus. His test scores were terrible. Like, he had such a hard time on anything that required his focused attention. And so watching how, okay, for instance, testing week, I would give him extra Cinemate, because I knew that for him, it helped to quiet his mind. It helped to bring balance to his brain. And like for Cinemate, it kind of helps my brain be more focused and more up. But for him, it had the opposite effect. It helped him to kind of calm down. He was able to focus, and he did phenomenal. So yes, for kids that are extremely hyperactive, they just have such a balancing effect. And because of the adaptogens, for me, it gives me energy. For him, it calms him down. So it works with what your body is really needing. And you'll see over time that balancing continue.
Yes, I agree. I love that you said over time, because it's not a magic pill, it takes time sometimes for these things. A lot of times, I know you notice very quickly with him. Sometimes it takes longer, and age does have an effect on that as well. And Kristen was asking the suggested products for on the spectrum with depression, and it would be a very similar thing that Rebecca has been talking about for that. I would say for children, young people, what Rebecca did probably down the line is a great start for sure. Now, for adults, we have a 4-month program that I would recommend they start there with the 4-month program. It's a little different. It's going to walk through those very similar products. It's all of those products that she mentioned are within that 4-month program. But adults have journeyed down the road a bit more and usually tend to need a process. And I love the systematic process of the 4-month program. So we love the support of this community. We're getting ready to wrap up our call in a couple minutes. So if you have any last minute questions, chat them in really fast. But we love that we get to do this together. Our community, we support one another. Whoever invited you to join this call, they're going to be your key person to turn to for further questions that you have that came from this. If you didn't get your questions answered on the call, reach out to them. They're going to know how to get you the program that is going to be best for you as an adult or as a child, and get those questions answered for you. So do we have any last minute questions? You guys have been great. I love all of the questions that you have chatted in here. It's been great. Great responses, great feedback. Well, I do not see any. Yeah, thank you, Rebecca. Did you have any last minute comment that you thought of, Rebecca, before we get off of the call?
I just am really happy to see so many people on here, because that just shows how many people are really fighting for either themselves or someone that they love. Because I mean, kids turn into adults that are depressed. And so this is not just for children, it's for all ages, but to be open enough to keep looking and keep trying to find a program that works. We have a lot of warriors on here, and that's what it takes to find what works for our kids. Now, fortunately, we have some experience and wisdom among a lot of the ones in Soul. And so it's been such a wonderful tool for all of us to find tangible things that have worked. But I just really want to applaud everybody that's on here, because you're fighting and you're a warrior and you're trying to find solutions, and that is huge. And you'll find them. You're finding them in this.
Yes, yes, that is so good and so true. We have so many stories, even within this call, of just amazing testimony after testimony of changed lives, and it's just so valuable. So thank you so much for your willingness again to be on here, to be sharing. We all stay connected in community, so don't feel like, oh no, I don't know what to do now. Just stay connected with those that brought you on this call. We appreciate you taking time out of your day. And until we see you, we'll be doing these at least once a month. And so we'll be having one in January. But until we see you next time, thank you for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye, everybody. Love you guys.
Bye.
Thank you guys. That was amazing.
Welcome.
Bye.
Bye.